After the age of 30, most men lose about 1% of their testosterone every single year. By the time you're 45, that adds up. And if you've been taking supplements trying to fix it, zinc, D-aspartic acid, ashwagandha, tribulus, and you're still tired, still soft around the middle, still not quite yourself, it's not because you're broken, it's because you've been trying to fix a food problem with a pill. Today, I want to show you one specific food that does something no supplement can replicate. And the reason why comes down to basic biology. Let's start here because this part is important and most people skip it. Walk into any supplement store or scroll through Amazon for 5 minutes, and you'll find hundreds of products claiming to boost testosterone naturally. Some of them contain real ingredients: zinc, magnesium, vitamin D, fenugreek, ashwagandha. These aren't fake compounds. The research behind some of them is legitimate. So why do so many men take them for months and feel almost nothing? The answer has to do with how your body processes information versus how it processes isolated chemistry. When you swallow a supplement, you're delivering one or two nutrients in a concentrated, synthetic, or extracted form, stripped of everything that nature originally packaged them with. Your digestive system then has to figure out what to do with this chemical signal arriving without context. Absorption becomes unpredictable. Some minerals, like zinc, compete with other minerals for the same absorption pathways. If you take zinc alone in high doses, it can actually interfere with copper absorption, and copper plays a role in testosterone production too. So now you've created a new imbalance trying to fix the original one. Then there's the liver. Everything you swallow gets filtered through your liver before it reaches your bloodstream. Fat-soluble compounds like vitamin D can accumulate. Water-soluble compounds pass through quickly, sometimes too quickly to be fully utilized. The dose on the label is rarely the dose your cells actually receive. And here's the bigger issue. Testosterone production isn't driven by a single nutrient. It's a cascade. It involves the hypothalamus sending a signal to the pituitary signaling the testes converting cholesterol into testosterone. Yes, cholesterol. And then that testosterone being protected from being converted into estrogen by enzymes that require their own nutritional support. Trying to fix that entire cascade with one supplement is like trying to run a car engine by only replacing the spark plugs while ignoring the fuel, the oil, and the air filter. Food doesn't work that way. A whole food delivers dozens of compounds together, in ratios that your biology is co-evolved with over thousands of years. Your digestive system recognizes it. Your cells know what to do with it. The cofactors arrive with the primary nutrients. The fat-soluble vitamins arrive with the dietary fat that helps absorb them. It's not magic. It's just how nutrition actually works at a cellular level. Now let's talk about why testosterone matters so much in the first place. Because this goes way beyond the obvious. Most people hear testosterone and immediately think sex drive, muscles, gym. And while that's part of it, testosterone functions more like a master regulator of your entire metabolic system. And when it's low, the effects show up everywhere, not just in the bedroom. Testosterone is directly involved in how your body builds and maintains muscle mass. It activates satellite cells, the repair crew that rebuilds muscle fibers after exercise. Without adequate testosterone signaling, your workouts produce less return. You train hard and recover slowly. Over time, you start losing muscle even if you're staying active. Testosterone also plays a central role in fat distribution. When testosterone is low, the body tends to store more fat, particularly around the abdomen. And visceral fat, the fat that accumulates deep around your organs, actually produces an enzyme called aromatase that converts testosterone into estrogen. So low testosterone leads to more belly fat, and more belly fat leads to lower testosterone. It becomes a self-reinforcing cycle. Mood and motivation are directly affected too. Testosterone has receptor sites in the brain, including in regions involved in motivation, confidence, and emotional resilience. Men with chronically low testosterone often describe a kind of emotional flatness. Nothing excites them. They feel irritable for no clear reason. Motivation drops. Focus becomes harder. This isn't weakness, it's biochemistry. Energy production is connected as well. Testosterone supports mitochondrial efficiency, the ability of your cells to produce ATP, which is your cellular fuel. Low testosterone is associated with persistent fatigue that sleep doesn't fully fix. Bone density declines with testosterone too, Most people associate osteoporosis with women, but men lose bone density as testosterone drops, increasing fracture risk in later life. And yes, libido, arousal, and erectile function are regulated in part by testosterone, though the full picture also involves nitric oxide, blood flow, and psychological factors. Testosterone is the starting signal in that chain. So when we talk about supporting testosterone, we're really talking about protecting your energy, your metabolism, your mood, your physical capacity, and your long-term health. It's not a vanity issue, it's a vitality issue. Now, the food. The food I want to talk about today is the egg. Specifically, the whole egg yolk included. I know. You might have expected something exotic, a rare Amazonian berry, or a specialized seed you've never heard of. But sometimes, the most powerful tools are the ones we've been ignoring. Or worse, the ones we were told to avoid. For decades, eggs were demonized. The yolk in particular was treated like a health hazard because it contains cholesterol and saturated fat. Millions of men switched to egg whites only, threw the yolks away, and in doing so, they discarded some of the most concentrated hormone-supporting nutrition available in any whole food. Here's what makes the egg different from a supplement. It doesn't deliver one or two nutrients in isolation. A single whole egg delivers vitamin D, zinc, selenium, choline, saturated fat, cholesterol, B vitamins including B12 and folate, omega-3 fatty acids in meaningful amounts if the eggs are from pasture-raised hens, and lutein. These compounds arrive together in a food matrix that your digestive system is designed to process. They don't compete, they cooperate. And the reason this matters specifically for testosterone comes down to what testosterone is actually made from. Let's walk through this step by step because this is where it gets interesting. Testosterone is a steroid hormone, and like all steroid hormones, it is synthesized from cholesterol. Your body takes cholesterol molecules and, through a series of enzymatic steps inside the Leydig cells of the testes, converts them into testosterone. This process requires cholesterol as a raw material. It also requires vitamin D, which functions more like a hormone than a vitamin in the body and which has receptor sites directly on the cells involved in testosterone production. It requires zinc, which acts as a cofactor for several of the enzymes in that conversion process. And it requires selenium, which supports the antioxidant systems that protect hormone-producing cells from oxidative damage. A whole egg delivers all four of these. Together, in a single food, your liver produces most of the cholesterol your body uses. But dietary cholesterol also contributes to the pool available for steroidogenesis, the scientific term for hormone production from cholesterol. Research suggests that men eating very low-fat, very low-cholesterol diets may have less raw material available for this process. This doesn't mean eating cholesterol in unlimited quantities is beneficial, but the connection between dietary cholesterol and hormone production has real biological basis. Vitamin D is probably the best documented nutrient in relation to testosterone levels. Studies have shown associations between vitamin D status and testosterone levels in men. One study followed men over 12 months and found that those who received vitamin D saw testosterone levels rise more than those who didn't. But here's the thing. Vitamin D from food comes packaged with fat, which is required for its absorption. The egg yolk provides both simultaneously. That's a delivery advantage no capsule can fully replicate. The testes have some of the highest concentrations of zinc in the body. Zinc is required for the activity of enzymes that regulate testosterone synthesis and for the function of the androgen receptor, the receptor your cells use to respond to testosterone. Even mild zinc deficiency has been associated with reduced testosterone levels. Eggs contain zinc in a bioavailable form alongside the protein and fat that help stabilize its absorption. And then there's selenium. Your testes express high levels of a selenium-dependent enzyme called glutathione peroxidase, which protects hormone-producing cells from oxidative stress. Chronic inflammation and oxidative stress are associated with impaired testosterone production. They essentially damage the machinery responsible for making the hormone. Selenium from food, including eggs, helps maintain that protective system. Now let's talk about the stress hormone connection, because this is a piece most people miss completely. Cortisol, your primary stress hormone, competes directly with testosterone. Both are steroid hormones, and they share some of the same hormonal precursors. When cortisol is chronically elevated due to poor sleep, chronic stress, overtraining, or blood sugar instability, it can suppress the hormonal signals that drive testosterone production. the hypothalamus and pituitary become less responsive. The result is lower output, even when the raw materials are available. Eggs contribute to blood sugar stability through their protein and fat content, which slows gastric emptying and prevents the rapid glucose spikes that trigger cortisol responses. Choline, found almost exclusively in the yolk, supports the nervous system and liver function, both of which play indirect roles in hormone metabolism and stress regulation. This is what food does that supplements can't. It doesn't just deliver one compound, it addresses multiple systems simultaneously. Now, let's be clear about what the evidence actually shows, because this is where I want to be precise with you. Research does not prove that eating eggs will dramatically raise your testosterone levels regardless of your lifestyle. What research does suggest is this: diets that include adequate dietary fat and cholesterol are associated with higher testosterone levels compared to very low-fat diets. Studies in men following very low-fat dietary patterns have found lower circulating testosterone on average. The association between dietary fat intake, particularly from whole food animal sources, and testosterone has been observed in multiple nutritional studies. Research on vitamin D and testosterone shows consistent associations. Men with adequate vitamin D levels tend to have higher testosterone than men who are deficient. This relationship appears stronger in men who are already deficient, meaning if your levels are low, correcting that deficiency through food and sun exposure may have more noticeable effects than if your levels are already optimal. Zinc research is similarly consistent. Studies in zinc-deficient men show that restoring zinc to adequate levels is associated with increases in testosterone. One frequently cited study found that zinc restriction in young men reduced testosterone significantly over a matter of weeks, and that restoring zinc in deficient elderly men was associated with nearly a doubling of testosterone levels. Again, the effect was most pronounced in deficient individuals. None of this means eggs are a testosterone treatment. It means that the nutrients concentrated in eggs are consistently associated with supporting the hormonal environment in which testosterone production occurs. There is a meaningful difference between those two statements, and I want you to hold on to that distinction. Results vary. Individual response depends on baseline levels, overall diet quality, stress load, sleep activity level, and genetics. What eggs offer is a concentrated, bioavailable, synergistic source of the raw materials and cofactors your testosterone-producing system needs, in a form your body is well equipped to use. Now for the practical part. Most of the research looking at dietary fat, cholesterol, and hormone levels uses a context of regular whole food consumption, not one single food eaten in isolation. In practical terms, commonly consumed amounts in nutritional studies range from 2 to 4 whole eggs per day as part of a broader diet. For most healthy adults, 2 to 3 whole eggs daily appears to be a reasonable, well-tolerated amount based on current nutritional research. Pasture-raised eggs tend to have a more favorable fatty acid profile, higher in omega-3s, compared to conventionally raised eggs, though both provide the core nutrients we've discussed. Eggs are highly versatile in terms of preparation. Scrambled, poached, boiled, or fried in a stable fat like butter, all of these preserve the core nutritional content reasonably well. Extremely high heat for prolonged periods can oxidize some of the cholesterol and degrade heat-sensitive nutrients, so moderate cooking temperatures are generally preferable. There's no strong evidence that the time of day you eat eggs dramatically affects their hormonal impact. What matters more is consistency and overall dietary context. Eating them as part of a diet that supports hormonal health rather than counteracting it with highly processed foods the rest of the day. Now, I also want to be balanced here, because not everything applies to everyone. Eggs are among the most common food allergens. If you have an egg allergy or sensitivity, this discussion doesn't apply to you, and you should work with a healthcare provider to find alternative dietary sources of the nutrients we've covered. For men with familial hypercholesterolemia, a genetic condition that causes abnormally high LDL cholesterol, dietary cholesterol from eggs may warrant more careful monitoring. This is a specific medical condition, not the average person's situation, but it's worth knowing. Men with kidney disease may need to monitor protein intake carefully, and eggs are a significant protein source. Individual medical guidance applies here. For most healthy men without these conditions, current nutritional research does not support the idea that 2 to 3 eggs per day meaningfully increases cardiovascular risk. But if you have existing heart disease or metabolic conditions, discussing dietary changes with your doctor is always the right move. Food is powerful, but food works best when it's part of a lifestyle that isn't actively working against your hormones. Sleep is probably the single most important variable. The majority of your daily testosterone is produced during deep sleep, specifically during the early morning hours. Men who chronically sleep less than 6 hours show significantly lower testosterone levels on average than men who sleep 7 to 9 hours. No food compensates for chronic sleep deprivation. Resistance training, lifting weights or doing body weight training that challenges your muscles, is associated with acute and chronic increases in testosterone signaling. It also improves insulin sensitivity, reduces visceral fat, and supports the kind of body composition that naturally supports better hormone balance. Managing chronic stress through whatever approach works for you. Whether that's time outdoors, reduced screen time, or simply protecting your schedule, matters because of the cortisol testosterone competition we discussed earlier. And simply reducing ultra-processed food intake makes a meaningful difference. Ultra-processed foods drive inflammation, impair insulin sensitivity, and are often loaded with refined seed oils and additives that may interfere with hormone signaling. Replacing them with whole foods creates a fundamentally different metabolic environment. Now let's briefly cover what actively works against your hormonal health. Chronic alcohol consumption is associated with reduced testosterone production and increased estrogen conversion. Moderate, occasional consumption has a very different profile than daily or heavy drinking, but it's worth being honest about. Diets very high in refined carbohydrates and sugar drive insulin resistance over time, and insulin resistance is associated with lower testosterone and higher estrogen, partly through its effect on sex hormone-binding globulin and fat accumulation. Highly processed vegetable and seed oils, the kind found in most packaged foods and fast food, are high in omega-6 polyunsaturated fats. While some omega-6 intake is normal and necessary, a very high ratio of omega-6 to omega-3 in the diet is associated with increased systemic inflammation. Chronic inflammation impairs the cells responsible for producing testosterone. Chronic overtraining without adequate recovery is also worth mentioning. Intense exercise is beneficial, but when training volume exceeds recovery capacity, especially without adequate sleep and nutrition, cortisol rises and testosterone output drops. This is a real phenomenon, particularly in men who train very hard but sleep poorly and eat inadequately. The common thread through all of these is inflammation and metabolic stress. Testosterone thrives in an environment of metabolic health and hormonal balance. The goal isn't just to add specific foods, it's to reduce the chronic background noise that's suppressing production in the first place. Let's bring this all together. Your testosterone production depends on a cascade of biological steps, each of which requires specific nutritional raw materials and cofactors. Most supplements try to address one or two of these steps in isolation, with unpredictable absorption and without the biological context that makes those nutrients actually work. The whole egg, with its combination of cholesterol, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, B vitamins, choline, and complete protein, delivers a significant portion of what that cascade needs, in a form your body is designed to recognize and use. It's not exotic, it's not expensive, and the research on its component nutrients consistently points in the same direction. But here's what I want you to walk away with. No single food is a solution by itself. What you're building is an environment, through food, sleep, movement, and stress management, that allows your body to produce the hormones it's already designed to make. Eggs support that environment in a meaningful and well-documented way. They work where supplements often fail because they deliver nutrition the way your biology expects to receive it, as a whole, integrated package. Consistency matters more than perfection. Adding whole eggs to your diet regularly, reducing the foods that actively impair hormone production, protecting your sleep, and moving your body. These things compound over weeks and months in ways that pills simply can't replicate. Now here's something worth sitting with. Even with the right food, even with better sleep and regular exercise, many men are still unknowingly doing something every single day that quietly suppresses their testosterone. Something so common, so normalized, that most people never connect it to how they feel. It's not alcohol. It's not junk food. It's something most men do before 9 a.m. In the next video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what that habit is, why it affects testosterone at a hormonal level, and what to replace it with. If you've done everything right and still feel like something's off, that video might be the piece you've been missing. If this one gave you something useful, consider sharing it with someone who needs it. And I'll see you in the next one.